joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jenny.
Good morning, Dr.
Yes, you know, there's a story I want to...
I have no idea.
Should I go ahead?
Oh, no, please don't. Thank you.
No.
Thank you, I owe you. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, don't worry, your secrets are safe with me.
For now. It's always yours. For now. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In the United States, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, on Tuesday, offered a bonus of $5,000 to disgruntled police officers in a bid to entice them to move to his state after some states in the country threatened to fire law enforcement officers and healthcare workers who refuse to get vaccinated. The governor says police officers should not be fired for shots. In Brazil, a Senate committee on Tuesday approved a report calling for prosecutors to try President Jair Bolsonaro on charges ranging from charlatanism and crimes against humanity. The committee, after a 6-month investigation, recommended that the president be held responsible for more than 600,000 COVID-19 deaths, the second highest COVID death toll in the world. In South Korea, tributes are pouring in for Rote, the country's former president, who died in a hospital on Tuesday in the capital, Seoul. Rote was a major player in the 1979 coup and later became president in a landmark democratic election before ending his tumultuous political career in prison. He was 88 years old. In Afghanistan, barely 2 months after the Taliban took over the country, families are reportedly selling their children in a desperate bid for money. A mother who sold her daughter for $500 to pay for food for her other children says the man who bought her daughter claimed he wanted to raise the girl to marry his son. The woman's story is one out of many in the country now on the verge of an economic meltdown. Under sports, an autographed rookie card belonging to tennis champion Serena Williams was auctioned at Golden's in New Jersey. The rookie card, which was printed in 2003, became the most expensive women's sports card after fetching $44,280 on October 24. Finally, under entertainment, reactions are trailing Donald Trump Jr., who has resorted to selling t-shirts with the tagline, "Guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin kills people," on his website, mocking Alec Baldwin for firing a prop gun on his movie set that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Since the fatal shooting, Trump Jr. has been sharing memes of Baldwin on his Instagram page.
I mean, how low is that? Donald Trump Jr. It's so embarrassing. Both of them, Donald Trump Jr. and Donald Trump, they're both embarrassing people. How dare he do this to Alec Baldwin at this time? Well, he's claiming that it's because Alec Baldwin has been mocking his father.
Low is the word, and I remembered Martin Luther King saying, "Let no man pull you low enough to hate him." And he's actually gone into the gutter with this stupidity that he did. What we're talking about is the death of an innocent woman. A little boy will never see his mother again. And this fool here is printing T-shirts because Alec Baldwin mocked his father. Let's talk about that mockery, okay? Saturday Night Live, they mock people. They mock. I remember Sarah Palin was lampooned. She didn't take it this badly. Do you remember this show in the 80s and 90s called Spitting Image with dummies? They completely finished Prince Charles. This is in the UK. He's the heir to their throne. There are no sacred cows in advanced democracies. It's not a big deal. And the nature of the mockery, really, Alec Baldwin portrayed Donald Trump in his impersonations as sort of bumbling and a bit lost. It wasn't vicious. It wasn't nasty. It really wasn't. It was actually quite funny. And Trump himself is a master of ridicule.
Absolutely.
He mocked a journalist, a person living with disabilities. He was doing this with his hand about the journalist.
I remember that.
Doing that.
I remember
and he called Crazy Bernie, Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary, Lying Ted, Pocahontas, Senator Warren.
Yeah,
so I don't understand this double standard. Why are you so thin-skinned? And none of the mockery was directed at Donald Trump Jr. He's such a non-factor. Ivanka was the star in the family when her father was president. She got mocked on Saturday Night Live. She never reacted. She has a lot more grace and more of a sense of humor than her brother. I think he should learn from her. This is really bad. When Donald Trump Jr. jumped in, there was a scandal with Alec Baldwin, let's face it, there have been many, with his wife pretending to be Spanish or whatever. He jumped in on that and said, oh, your wife is just a basic white girl. That was funny. That's just you know, taking the mick out of somebody. But this is really a bridge too far. It's beyond the pale. Yeah, disgusting
He went on
behavior.
to say, watch Alec Baldwin blame the gun. I mean, it's just really
disgusting.
Unnecessary. Selling a T-shirt for $27, Dr. Bati.
And what you said is not true. The facts are beginning to emerge. Alec Baldwin didn't load that gun. Somebody else loaded that gun. They told Alec Baldwin that you had blank bullets in it and ordered him to shoot. Put out the safety protocols on it, and he was given the all clear to shoot. That's what is being filed in court. In fact, they said the person that loaded that gun did the same thing on another production.
Yes.
So that story is on. So this is falsehood. But I am not surprised. Like they say in Nigeria, like father, like son.
I mean, really.
I think the response by Alec Baldwin, by Donald Trump Jr. Is a cheap shot. It's classless. It's insensitive.
Very.
And it's in very bad taste. Although he says all the persons who are criticizing him are guilty of what he calls sanctimony, and that if the shoe were to be on the other side, Alec Baldwin, in his view, will do something worse. But look, we're dealing with human life here. The cinematographer, Miss Hutchins, that died, you know, that's final. And yet you turn that into an opportunity to settle scores in a very cheap manner. So I'm not impressed, but as they say, the apple does not fall too far from the tree. Only this morning we were talking about Donald Trump, the father, healing Bolsonaro, and now the son on Instagram and, you know,
shame
everywhere behaving in a
shame.
shameful manner.
Shame.
Now, as for what exactly happened, in theater and film production, there are health and safety rules.
Right.
What do actors do? Actors put us into what Samuel Taylor Coleridge calls a willful suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
Theater is an illusion, and you are supposed to make it believable. We teach 100-level theater students one of the major factors, verisimilitude. But even in trying to achieve that verisimilitude, you must always realize that there are dangers. And theater and film production, so many dangers. Whether it's fighting scenes, whether it's shooting scenes, whether even it's in terms of how you make use of your props. In 1613, the Globe Theatre in London was burned down because of a mistake. You know, somebody put fire to something, and that theater was razed to the ground. In 1937, Laurence Olivier almost died on stage because he took a wrong turn, and machinery on stage was going to fall on him. In 2008, one actor was given a knife. You know, some of those knives they use on stage, they are supposed to be retractable. The knife failed, it slit his own throat. 10 days before this incident with Alec Baldwin, at the Bolshoi Theater, an actor died on stage during an opera performance. So these things happen, and that's why actors need to take precautions. Now here, we were told that it was a prop gun that was used by Alec Baldwin for a quick draw. But the district attorney in New Mexico is saying that, look, what happened on the set of Rust, what was used was not a prop gun, and that, you know, the state is going to file charges. Because before that particular scene, they have been engaging in what they call plinking, that the actors involved, including Alec Baldwin himself, had been playing around with real guns, and that it was possible that what was fired was an antiquated, you know, actual gun.
Yeah.
So we have not had the end of the story yet, but the poor, you know, distasteful intervention by Donald Trump Jr., I think should be widely condemned by all persons who see it in that manner.
Yeah, if you
I
can
have to add to your list.
Yes.
The
Yes.
most famous case, Brandon Lee.
Brandon
The
Lee.
son of Bruce
Yes.
Lee,
And let me
in
add,
93.
let me add to
Correct.
your case. One of the most famous cases. We all remember that Michael Jackson's hair
Yeah,
was
in the
burnt during
Pepsi
the Pepsi
commercial.
commercial.
Yeah.
So these
And he never
accidents
recovered
happen.
from that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And that
yeah,
other John
hilarious.
Eric man that shot himself in the head, the actor, he thought he was playing with a prop gun and killed himself on the set.
Even here
sad
in
situation.
Nollywood in
Really
Nigeria,
sad
about 2 actors in the Yoruba movie industry had mistakenly killed someone. You know. So it happens. But it's about health and safety in the course of performance and production.
Yeah. May Miss Hutchinson's soul rest in peace.
Amen.
We'll take another story. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has again cautioned against the spread of fake news. This time, he says the spread of fake news may cause World War III. The minister, while addressing the House of Representatives Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values, said the manner in which information is disseminated today has drastically changed, and that people now prefer to patronize social media where fake news is easily spread, unlike 30 years ago when mainstream media was the main source of information. Well, I mean, the Minister of Information, I guess he has some information. World War III, though. But what I found quite interesting was this tweet from Africa Nationalist, who wrote, "Fake news by the Africa diaspora disunity machines are responsible for the ethnic hatred between the North and South. Nigeria, wake up. Stop allowing people who are not living in Nigeria to tell you to hate other tribes." I guess this is the line Lai Mohammed is towing, because, you know, obviously the spread of fake news is really the divide that they're all talking about, the North and the South, the fight between the North and the South, which is really, you know, uncalled for. And I don't know if it's the people in the diaspora spreading this information, like that tweet that I just read.
Well, I do know. So
Yeah.
that tweet has a point that he's
Okay.
making, and it's a valid point. And I actually agree with Lai Mohammed. I thought about it when I was reading the story. I have always assumed that World War III, if at all it happens, which we pray it doesn't, will be caused by climate change. But when I was reading that, I thought it's entirely possible. Look at our recent tragedy, that the sad passing of Colin Powell. You think about how fake news has caused wars. With that, weapons, the phantom weapons of mass destruction, so that America could go into Iraq, and, you know, we all know the rest. Going further back in history, I'm going to stay in America. 1964, Lyndon Johnson wanted to escalate the American presence in Vietnam. They engineered a conflict to enable him to do so. Way before that, America's greatest president, in my opinion, Abraham Lincoln. You know, I love him.
Well,
love him. Way before that, when he was a congressman, he was challenging President Polk then in the 1870s, who engineered a dispute with Mexico so America could go fight them and take more of their territory. So people do tell all kinds of lies, spread all kinds of fake news, and it does cause wars, and people die. Look at recently the whistleblower, the Facebook whistleblower, Haugen, that lady. She said that in non-English language speaking countries, their sort of content control and the checks that they do are a lot lower. Because, and she used the incident in Ethiopia as an example.
Tigray,
So this is in real time. We're seeing how this could happen. He's completely right.
All right. Dr.
Well,
Bati.
with regard to how fake news can, cause war, or how misinformation
And cause war.
yes, the examples you have cited, are perfectly in order. But my favorite example, which is something is that of 1945.
Okay.
With the bombing of Hiroshima. When the Allies met in Potsdam, they sent out to Japan a harshly worded statement in which they said Japan must surrender, and that if Japan did not surrender, that there will be consequences. So, Prime Minister Suzuki, who was the Prime Minister then in Japan, got that message, and the international media asked him. Meanwhile, the Allies were waiting for a response. He had not yet responded. Now, when they asked the Prime Minister, journalists asking him the question, his simple response was the word mokusasu. Now, mokusasu is an ambiguous Japanese word, but in the context in which the Prime Minister used it, it meant that it was withholding comment, no comment. That was what he meant. But when the international media reported it, they gave the impression that it was saying we would rather ignore them. Hiroshima was bombed 10 days later. And look at the consequences of that attack on Hiroshima. Simply because of the way the word Mukusasu was translated. Well, some people say, oh, don't blame the journalists. Blame the Prime Minister himself.
Which is what I was taught.
Why will you use a word that is ambiguous?
I was taught. He was blamed.
Clearly, that was not what he meant.
Right.
And it cost that war, the bombing of Hiroshima, till today. The effect is still there. In other words, so at the level of idea,
yes.
I think the minister was correct to say fake news, misinformation could have tragic consequences. However, where people criticize Minister Mohammed and the Nigerian government is this attempt to use that as the basis for gagging
the media, yes.
the media in Nigeria, as a basis for limiting the scope of the freedom of expression. That's where the controversy lies.
Absolutely. Right. Rufai.
All right, so let me piggyback on your story. When Abraham Lincoln was fighting President Polk in the late 1800s, and President Polk needed to set up that war between America and Mexico, guess who he used? He used a certain man called Charles Pulitzer, the man that invented the Pulitzer Prize till today. And Charles Pulitzer started something with his St. Louis Dispatch called Yellow Journalism. And it was propaganda and full-on, and the war started. The shocking thing is the Third World War has started again already. So the minister is late for saying that. The Third World War is a culture war. And when you see what is happening on social media, it's playing out with Facebook and other outlets all over the world. And it will only continue. I mean, experiences go, even if during the Cold War and the likes, you have a lot of experiences. But the most important thing we should be talking about here is the best way to fight fake news is the education of the populace. The question we'd like to ask the minister, what has he done at educating an average Nigerian? You don't have access to education. I was talking about this morning that people's parents are taking loans to pay school fees. Nigerian educational system is down, all right? You have 13.5 million people out of school, or 15 million people out of school in Nigeria. Primary school enrollment rate, primary school completion rate is less than 50% now. So 5 out of 10 people complete primary school in this country. The best way to combat fake news is by the education of the populace. So we have failed already because it's not that people don't know how to go through trusted sources to get their news. Yeah. But the fact is, are they educated to make those choices? Right. Because it is only education that will tell you have a choice to verify a story across 3-4 other platforms before you make a final analysis and understanding of that story. Right. So what the minister should do is to try to resuscitate a seemingly dead National Orientation Agency, which is not, I don't think is working as far as I'm concerned, and also help at educating the people, by getting the proper stories out there and telling them the truth of the matter, rather than saying, it's going to be the start of Third World War. It started already and it's a culture war.
Yeah, but the American public that's educated, that falls for fake news, hook, line, and sinker. How do you explain that?
You'll be shocked. What's the education of the American populace?
No, they're educated. And it's basic. No. I'm not saying everybody has to be rocket scientists, but they're educated.
Well, all right. We'll take another story. A 26-year-old identified as Aliyu Na Idris, who is seen in a photo carrying a placard with inscriptions that read, "This man is for sale, 20 million naira," is generating a buzz online. Aliyu is said to be a tailor from Kaduna State and has reportedly put himself up for sale due to economic hardship after losing his tailoring job. Aliyu has been roaming the streets of Kano State, where he relocated, carrying the placard for 5 days in search of a buyer. How sad is this story?
Desperately sad.
This man wrote details of how he was going to, share the money eventually. And he talked about the fact that he'll give, I believe, 5 million naira. He'll pay the state in tax, 5 million naira. I mean, that's how detailed he was. He's really serious about, selling himself. How sad is this situation?
I'm shocked that a human being has a price tag in Nigeria.
He doesn't have a price tag. He thinks he does. He doesn't.
Well, he doesn't have a price tag.
I just read the story about this woman
but
that sold her daughter in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
for
that's
money.
£500.
For
yes.
$500.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's the same story we're hearing.
I mean, if this doesn't tell you about the poverty situation,
yes,
then nothing will. And I deliberately did say it's sad that a human being has a price tag in this country, because if we're saying we need to bring people out of poverty, and more people are slipping into poverty every day, so what are we saying?
You see, we condemned slavery.
Yeah.
And slavery, is something infamous. There was a whole movement against the abolition, for the abolition of slavery. And now, in the 21st century, in 2021 Nigeria, you see people openly offering themselves for slavery. So that in itself is the seriousness of the existential crisis that many Nigerians face. This particular 26-year-old has lost hope. He says he will give 10 million naira to his parents. He will give 5 million to the state. People like you are advertising his plight will get 2 million naira, and then he will have just 3 million.
I'm advertising his plight.
Yes, that's how he said it. So that, he will keep 3 million, and that 3 million will even be given to the person, that
bought him. Yeah.
He already tried to sell himself in Kaduna. Nobody could buy him because they were offering him ridiculous amounts. Some offered 2 million. Some offered 500,000. So when he couldn't get a buyer, he moved to Kano. And if he doesn't get a buyer in Kano,
go somewhere else.
He will probably also come to Lagos because he says he will go to the next place. But 3 million at the end of the day coming to him will serve no purpose. So it's just...
well, somebody should just give this young man a job.
Well, he was a tailor.
He was a tailor.
And his business was not doing well. He was not getting customers again. So he now looked for the best way out. Okay, let him just sell himself, and it's really unfortunate. And I hope that the state government, either in Kaduna State or Kano State, will try to reach out to him and find a way of rehabilitating.
Absolutely. Really sad situation.
Well, since we've talked about America this morning, I'm thinking of the Great Depression in America where people were selling their children. There was a famous picture, that sign, children for sale, with the mother turning her face. She was ashamed. And those children were bought. They suffered horrendously. But look at America today. So hope springs eternal.
You remember Les Miserables?
Yes. Oh.
Somebody had to sell a teeth.
Jean Valjean.
Right. Really sad situation. Well, hope Aliyu gets help. Thank you, guys. That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you tomorrow.